Hi there, Malcolm here for my 396th Booktube video, and today I'll be bringing a review for Star Trek Lower Decks Warp Your Own Way, written by Ryan North and illustrated by Chris Finoglio. And this is a choose-your-own-adventure style story set in the Star Trek Lower Decks universe. And the story follows Mariner, who gets up, chooses a hot beverage, and then goes on an adventure. And the adventure very much being determined by the hot beverage that you choose for her. As the story unfolds, you find yourself with 2 or 3 choices to make. Tell you to go to a particular page depending on what your choice is. So for example, your first choice is to choose human coffee, and you go to page 28 to find out what happens having done that. Or you choose Klingon Raktajino, and you go to page 10 to find the results of that. And generally speaking, you'll probably find yourself going down a few wrong turns and ending up dying by some means. Whether it's the Borg, Gorn, or the Greek god Dionysus, poor Mariner comes a cropper time and time again. And so you need to choose different paths each time, having started over. Or maybe I have the human drink instead of the Klingon drink, or maybe I have the Klingon drink instead of the human drink sort of choice. And unlike other choose your own adventures that I've read, the constant restarting of the story is integral to the plot, and actually on some conclusions, as Mariner comes to one fatal end or another, a pattern is beginning to emerge. Certain characters or queries crop up time and time again. Because normally in a choose your own adventure, when you die, you start over again, choosing different options this time, and everything is as it was before, you're just playing it again. But with the knowledge that if you go down that road, you've got to fight this, or you fall into that trap sort of thing. Whereas this one, you actually do gain some weird experience as you keep dying and starting over and choosing different branches until eventually the whole adventure makes sense. You don't know the why of it necessarily, but certainly it's very cleverly utilising the restarting mechanic as part of the story. And in that, I do highly recommend choosing every single branch you can, bookmarking certain points, and then finding out all the iterations of what happens if you go down the different branches from that point, and then going back and then going down another route, bookmarking a key choice point, and then checking out all those iterations. Not only are they a lot of fun, and you get to see a whole bunch of interesting Star Trek villains and encounters, but you learn more and more about what is going on here. And you choose one particular iteration and you get a clue, a very important clue, to help you make a choice you didn't even know you had, which is also brilliant. And on a similar note, you read the story from the beginning, turn the pages over until you get to your choice with what drink to make and going to the particular page. But if you turn the page as you normally would in reading a normal book, you find yourself crashing into an ice planet populated by penguins wearing Geordi LaForge visors, saying, "What are you doing? This isn't an ordinary book, and you don't get to turn to the next page whenever you want." When Mariner encounters a choice, you must turn to the page indicated to decide which option she takes. Now look what you did. You ignored all that and bowed a head like this is an ordinary book, which it isn't. And now the timeline is completely ruined. You've got only one choice left, to boldly go back to the beginning and do better this time. The end. Now this page actually threw me because I knew how to do choose your own adventure stories, and as you flick back and forth you see certain characters pop up, certain scenarios pop up, and you think, oh, there's, when I'm going to meet them or find that scenario as you flick past to where you're trying to find. And of course, not only do I flip past this one with the first choice, this is actually referenced further on down the story, and I'm thinking, hang on, I missed that. How did I not get there? So I just cheated, as it were, and turned to that page just to see is there any clue as to what I had to do to get there, and all I had to do was not understand how to do a choice in the book and turn to the next page. Which I thought was quite funny. Once you get past the first hurdle, and there is a hurdle you need to beat, you then go down a second series of scenarios with branching results. And again, I recommend going down each and every single one, because that again tells you about a choice you don't know you can make until you've got all the information. So yes, there are secret pages that you can't normally turn to unless you know, having worked it out, to go to those pages by picking up the hints along the way. Now, the first one I came to accidentally because I kept jumping back and forth from a certain point. I flicked back to the wrong page because a lot of pages do have a very similar layout, just depending on what choices you made to get there. The numbers are different at the bottom, and so I thought I was jumping from the correct one, but that actually had an extra option on it. And hang on, how did I get to this page? Okay, that was a mistake on my part, but normally you can find yourself on that page by following instructions. The second hurdle was a lot more challenging. I was able to get all the information, but it wasn't clear from what point I needed to do it, as it were. I'm trying to keep it vaguely vague, and then you get the conclusion where it does branch out a bit, but they all end up with the same result regardless of what options you do. And again, I like going down each individual one, so that way I can truly say that I have read every single page of this book. Because one downside I find with Choose Your Own Adventures is if you have a rather fortuitous, you've always picked the right route, you've never fallen into the trap or failed at a task, you complete the adventure having only read like a third of it. You know, you didn't get to fight this thing or escape from that thing or whatever. Whereas this one, unless you accidentally choose the right fork straight away, which gives you the clue you need to know what to do next, you do need to read most of this book to complete it. And I recommend doing it anyway because it's got a wonderful lower decks humour, and of course when it is a repeated page just with a few subtle differences, you can skim over the bits you already know and just read the new bits. But I did find it a challenge keeping count of the number of pages I'd read so I can update story graph and page bound, particularly when I was having to jump to certain page numbers that were very similar to the number of pages I'd counted. Highly entertaining. Normally it's very frustrating when you lose a lot, but in this one I enjoyed each journey that took me there, and each time I lost I learnt that little bit more. Highly recommend this. Booktastic. So have you read or played Star Trek Lower Decks Warp Your Own Way? What did you think about it? How long were you stuck for on the first or second challenge? Comment down below please. Or what's your favourite Choose Your Own Adventure story? But as usual, if you have nothing nice to say then please keep it to yourself. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe and other YouTube things. If you want, until next time, see you later.